Welcome to Upticks. I'm Jake Falcon, the founder of Falcon Wealth Advisors and your host of Upticks. Today is episode 163, Restricted Stock Units. Thank you for joining me back on the show. I hope all of you out there are staying safe and healthy during this horrible pandemic. For today's topic, I wanted to talk about restricted stock units. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, there's probably one of two reasons. One, you're retired or don't have these available to you at your place of work. So why would you know about them? Or two, maybe you have heard of them, but you really haven't taken the time to look at your benefits package and don't really understand them. And the third option is maybe you do have them and maybe this video is for you and you can actually learn something that you didn't already know about your restricted stock units. So what are they? Well, restricted stock units are basically a form of compensation that mostly public, not all of them, but mostly publicly traded companies will offer to employees as a form of a bonus or reward. Okay. And so the way they work is that they'll issue out shares of a publicly traded company. Let's say they say, okay, we're going to give you 100 restricted stock units, which is awesome, right? So they're basically giving you ownership of the company. Now, there's typically many caveats that come with these restricted stock units. And the first one to know is that at the time of the award, they are worthless. Right? Because normally there is some sort of vesting schedule. And by vesting schedule, I just mean that sometimes they actually become legally yours. Okay. So they may say, okay, I'm going to give you this restricted stock unit in 2021, but they won't be vested for 3 years, which means you get the stock kind of not technically, but you have the shares, whatever price, right, that's trading at that day of the award. And then in 3 years, they'll be legally yours to sell them and cash them in. But in that time frame, there's really nothing you can do. The good news with this is there's no taxes at the time of this award, right? So it's not a taxable event when they issue out the award. You also don't get to receive any dividends typically. So if there's a dividend that the company pays, there's no voting rights, right? You're not vested on these shares yet, so they're not legally yours. But you kind of have this bonus waiting in the background that in future years will become available to you, and it'll be like a little bit of a windfall. And it's really great when companies start stacking these on top of each other. Okay, so, and I'll start referring to them as RSUs for short. So restricted stock units, RSUs, same thing. So they may issue one in 2021, and then you get another 100 in 2022 and another 100 in 2023. And granted, you may have to wait 3 years for these to vest, and sometimes they do a third, or however they do it. But the good news is you'll have this rolling amount of money coming down the line that you've already earned. And hopefully, if your company's stock is performing well, that award that you've already been granted just becoming worth more and more and more as the stock price grows. So you can see how it can snowball and be an actually bigger award than what was originally gifted to you from the company. Now, I personally like restricted stock units better than stock options that companies give their employees. And the reason with stock options is, let's say they give you a stock option and the stock is trading at $50 a share. Well, at the time of that vesting for the stock option, right, if the stock is trading at $49 a share or under $50 a share, that option is worthless. And you actually don't have any award. You don't have any bonus from it, right? It's worthless. It's called underwater. With the restricted stock, if the stock is trading at $50 a share at the time of the award, and at the time of vesting, it's worth $49. Well, it's kind of a bummer because you get less than the $50, but at least you're getting $49 a share. So you do certainly get something versus a worthless option, right? So it's a neat thing. Like I said, a lot simpler than the stock options as well, right? You simply get the shares, you wait on your vesting schedule. At the time of vesting, then you take action. Okay, so let's talk about that though. So there's really some main considerations that you need to understand. And number one, I've already alluded to, is you want to be aware of what that vesting schedule is. And not only for, hey, when am I going to get my money? but also for tax planning. Because as I mentioned, if restricted stock units aren't taxable when they are initially awarded, they do become taxable when they're vested, right? So you want to be careful of that. Is if you have a lot of shares becoming vested in any given year, you want to work with your financial advisor at Falcon Wealth Advisors on your tax planning and see if you can do some things to lower your taxes or your taxable income in that year that you're going to have RSUs vest, right? To compensate for that higher bonus, right? So there's some things that you can do with your wealth advisor. And again, full disclosure, my client compliance loves for me to put this in here. I'm not a tax advisor, but I do a ton of tax planning with our clients. So it's obvious to us, right? So you can say, look, I'm getting 10,000 shares, Jake, vested to me in 2022. What do we need to do, right? So we can look at donor advised funds, maxing out your 401k, health savings accounts, right? Charitable remainder trusts, all these other things to try to defer some of your taxes to lower some of that tax burden as these RSUs vest, right? So that's a big one. Know your vesting schedule and work with your trusted financial advisor, ideally at Falcon Wealth Advisors, on some of this tax planning with the vesting schedule. Another key consideration to have is what happens if you leave the company, right? So, hopefully you don't get laid off, or what if you just quit because you find a new opportunity? What happens to your unvested shares? Is that something that you can negotiate? Can you say, hey, I know you guys are looking to do a voluntary separation package. Can you vest all my shares on the way out? Or as part of a new compensation plan, if you're not going to retire and you're going to go work somewhere else, perhaps you can negotiate some sort of signing bonus saying, hey, I'm walking away from, 1,000 shares of my company stock. It's worth, 70 grand. Is there something you can do for me? Maybe you can give me some restricted stock as a signing bonus or something to that effect. Or if you're retiring, it's a tough part. Typically also, if these restricted stock units keep getting granted to you, sometimes you just have to leave some on the table, right? You don't want to work forever. Maybe you do, but most people don't want to work forever. And so sometimes you've got to be willing to walk away. Or again, maybe as part of your retirement, you can go to your manager and say, hey, I want to retire, but I've got all these unvested shares. Is there any way you guys can work out a deal with me? I don't know. Again, that's between you, your manager, and I'm sure your HR department. Right, but you want to be aware of that because it can be a huge deal in your financial plan. And one of the perks of working with us at Falcon Wealth Advisors for our clients is that we can run scenarios. We can say, okay, you've got 2,000 unvested shares of your company stock. What if you walked away and you didn't get them? What does that do to the financial plan? And for some people, that may be a make or break scenario, right? So we want to know that though, going into any big decisions that you're making. For other people, it may not matter and say, you know what? I know you don't want to leave any money on the table, but the good news is you don't need those shares to vest in order for you to retire, right? And that again is something that you should know. And working with us at Falcon Wealth Advisors, that's an easy toggle on and off on your financial plan that we can show you. All right, very good. Another thing to be considered, and again, this is different for every company, is you want to know what happens if your company gets bought, right? So you have all these, restricted stock units out there that are unvested, and all of a sudden your company sells to another company. Well, your company's stock no longer exists. So what does that mean to your shares? Because you technically don't own them yet, right? And again, that's different for every company. I can't give you, specific advice on that, but it is something, again, to be aware of and cognizant of as far as when you're planning on getting these restricted stock units. Is your company at risk of getting sold? You want to understand, well, what happens to these things if we do get sold, right? So it's something good to know as well. And then again, there are no favorable tax treatments. Typically counts as ordinary income, so it's not like you get long-term capital gains treatment or anything else with these restricted stocks. So you just want to be cognizant of the tax implications as they do vest, right? Which I've already kind of alluded to, but some people think that, well, I've had these things for 3 years. Is it long-term now? Well, no, because you technically haven't had them. They've been unvested, so you haven't had ownership of them. So they typically count as income to you. Now, one thing you do want to be aware of, those as they vest, a lot of companies will go ahead and withhold shares. So let's say you have 100 shares that are vesting and they are going to be taxable. They may say, okay, we'll withhold, 30 shares for taxes and you'll get 70, right? So you want to know how the company handles taxation, because you don't want to get caught with them giving you all 100 shares and then all of a sudden you owe Uncle Sam a lot more money than you thought you did because the taxes were never withheld when you were vested or given the shares. So that's something that you definitely want to be aware of. And again, that's company specific. Again, your friends at Falcon Wealth Advisors here, we're happy to dive through your company's summary plan description or however they have it laid out and help translate that legal jargon into English for you. We just need to see a copy of it. And again, we can walk you through what that means for you. All right, so another big takeaway here I've got actually a big takeaway on RSUs, but before that, quick commercial. Again, thank you so much. I'm very humbled. Our subscriber count continues to grow right here on our YouTube channel, the Falcon Wealth Advisors Collective. Corey and I both have our shows hosted here. So again, the best way to make sure that you don't miss another episode of Upticks is certainly to subscribe. If you're listening to this on your favorite podcast platform, thank you so much for tuning in. Thumbs up would be greatly appreciated. If you want to share this on your favorite social media platform, please feel free to do that as well. I also have a weekly email. If you're not already subscribed, it's called the Retirement Report. You can head on over to falconwealthadvisors.com. That's an easy way to subscribe to my email. That's where I also distribute my content. Okay, so my big tip here on these RSUs that I wanted to get to is that, so what do you do, right? That's the big question, right? That I hear more and more from current clients and new clients that are getting these restricted stock units. They're vested, now what? Well, you have several options. Most people, not all people, will just take the shares though, right? So a lot of clients will say, okay, I'm going to get 100 shares after taxes. I'm going to get 70 or 50 or whatever it is, transfer them over to my account at Falcon Wealth Advisors. And I don't want to go into too much of a tangent, but there are some option strategies. These aren't stock options like your company would give you, but there's some trading strategies that we deploy for many of our clients at Falcon Wealth Advisors. It's an advanced strategy. So again, do not try to do this on your own. It's very advanced that you need, in my opinion, to hire a trained professional to do. But we will do a covered call option strategy on many shares for our clients. Certainly if they are not subject to any blackout periods, we certainly could take advantage of that. Other times we hold for a target price that we'll just exit. Maybe they want to gift the shares to their favorite charity or donor advised fund. Maybe they want to gift them to their children, or maybe they just want to sell them and diversify. So there is no one size fits all answer on this. It's not as popular to cash them in and just take the cash unless you're already overexposed. Perhaps maybe you already have a ton of company stock in your 401k and you don't want to have any more shares, or maybe you need to pay off credit card debt, right? Maybe you've got $20,000 in credit card debt that's charging you 15% interest. Probably not the worst idea. Again, I'd have to look at your financial plan, but probably not the worst idea to maybe pay off some of that debt with this bonus. All right, so there's many different things that you can do. There's not a one size fits all answer. I personally love trading the options for our clients, the covered call strategy. Again, it's an advanced strategy, but I've seen it work very well for many clients. I'm very excited about that, and I do a lot of it. But that doesn't mean that it works for you and makes sense for you. And again, it's not something you should try to do on your own. But there's a big decision to make there, right? So not only are you doing some tax planning, and then you got to figure out, what do I do with these shares once they become legally mine, right? Do I just hold them? Do I cash them in? Do I diversify? Do I do this option strategy with Jake and his team? Do I give them to charity, right? There's all these different things that you can do. And you want to work with a competent wealth advisor. Again, ideally your friends at Falcon Wealth Advisors, to take you through all these different scenarios to see what makes best sense for you and your financial plan, right? So it's all about you in there. At this point, you get the bonus, you get the award. How can we best use this to set you and your loved ones up for overall better retirement plan, better financial success, and hopefully help you achieve your goals that much faster? Okay, good. So hopefully you learned something about restricted stock units today. It's something that I talk a lot about. I've got a lot of clients that receive them, which is awesome. A great bonus, great award for them. But if you don't have a financial advisor that's working with you that knows about restricted stock units, please feel free, send me an email. My email is simply jake@falconwealthadvisors.com. I'm happy to set up an initial consultation with you. It's complimentary, and I can take a look at your restricted stock units and how they correlate with your entire financial plan to see what makes most sense for you and your family. Also, if we're not already connected on the various social media platforms, I am on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. Feel free to send me a friend request. My company, Falcon Wealth Advisors, is on the same 4 platforms. For a quick plug here, the team is doing great. We still are meeting with vaccinated clients that are comfortable in our office. Many clients are still choosing to meet via conference call or Zoom. I frankly think that's a way of the future for many of our clients, which is completely fine with us. I'm a little bit old school. I like the handshake, right? But again, if that's not your thing and you want to do Zoom or you're across the country or wherever that may be, we have clients now in 23 states, which is crazy to me because again, when I started in this business 15 years ago, it was much more an in-person relationship with your clients, or a lot of advisors would fly all over the country all the time to see their clients, me included. I didn't fly a lot, but I did do a fair amount of it. But I think now, with this pandemic going on and the new age of technology, I think Zoom is a completely appropriate medium of way to meet with clients. Phone's okay, probably not as good as video, but it's not bad. And I think more and more people are getting used to it. But that doesn't stop us. Again, our office is open for vaccinated individuals that feel safe. And we're in the office working every day. And so I guess at least Monday through Friday. So again, if you have any questions or want to set up a time to meet, certainly let me know. Fall is in full swing. Chiefs had a tough loss as of the last recording. They're playing this Sunday. So as of this getting rolled out, they would have already played. I'm going to just call it right now that they're going to win. I'm sure they're going to bounce back. So as of you receiving this, I would think that the Chiefs are going to be 2-1. I could be wrong in there, but much the same for me and Rachel and Einstein, just enjoying the cooler temperatures in Kansas City. I'm squeezing in a lot more rounds of golf here as the season winds down. But hope all of you, like I said, out there are staying safe and healthy. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you have a great week.